Hey everybody, this is Emar Substitute. Welcome to another edition of the Sports Inquirer. We're not necessarily going to do a show. We'll do a show tomorrow where we break down Argentina winning the World Cup, the NFL, things going on locally with the Atlanta college sports scene, and more news and notes as we go through the day. But as always, first of all, always make sure you go to thesportsinquirer.net for premier notes and items in the world of sports. We're always posting on there. We haven't posted in the past few weeks, I understand, but always go on there to get the latest of what we have going on. You can also go to our social media platforms on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and those are great ways to keep track of everything we have going on. I was live tweeting the World Cup final, Argentina and France. So if you wanted to catch up on what I was doing on there, check that out. You can always go to our other platforms as well. Obviously, YouTube is where you'll see the videos, a lot of our interviews and pressers and things like that. And we'll start getting back to doing more of those as the December's not been a very active month, honestly. Between college is a big part of our scene. That's a lot of activities are either concluding or they're on winter break, so lots going on there. But we'll start getting back to that once the new year comes around and start getting back into the groove with that. But we always post all those video interviews on YouTube. We put all the audio up on SoundCloud. You can go to Anchor. That's a great way to check out everything we have going on. You can also go to Spotify. So there are various means to kind of check out everything that's going on. Yeah, and as I mentioned, things are going well. It's just a slower period than normal. I did watch the World Cup. Argentina getting their third World Cup in, I say franchise history, but I guess in country history with the uh, technically it's a 4-3 win over France, but it went to penalty kicks. I mean, just one of the best World Cup match I've ever seen. And we're going to do a special edition of the original free kick where we're going to do two things. One, we're going to analyze the Argentina win over France and what that meant and everything, just the entire World Cup, just to recap, but also delve into where Messi places as far as the all time great players. Is he greatest of all time? He's in the conversation. I will say if there was a top 5 or 10, he's definitely in the conversation. But just all that Mbappe, you score a hat trick in the World Cup final and lose. I mean, I don't know what more you can do, but we'll break that down as well. Just we'll do a special edition of that show. But yeah, so just whenever we do that, make sure you check it out on there. News and notes from the NFL, just real quickly as we scroll through some things that have been going on, and we'll definitely do a recap of the Gridiron Blitz when this final game of the week takes place tonight, and then previewing this upcoming weekend. That'll be the Christmas Eve edition of the NFL. It's a weird week with Christmas and New Year's Day being on Sundays and conflicting with the college football, especially when we get to New Year's Eve. That's going to be a complete switch and change of pace on things that are going on. But it'll be very interesting to see you there. But just some notes and notes from the NFL. It's only 3 weeks left in the regular season, so teams are starting to clinch, starting to their divisions, playoff spots, things like that. We've already seen Kansas City; they won their seventh consecutive AFC West division title with 30-24 victory at Houston. Won that in extra time. So I said they've won the division now 6 consecutive years. Only the LA Rams, they tied the Rams for the second longest streak of division titles in NFL history with that seventh consecutive one. Only the New England Patriots had a longer streak, winning 11 consecutive AFC East division titles that ended just recently within the past year or two by Buffalo. But yeah, so Kansas City back in the playoffs, right vying for the top overall seed in the AFC. You have the 49ers defeated Seattle 21-13 on Thursday night to win the AFC West for the first time since 2019. I mean, Brock Purdy, I think with San Francisco, when you have three capable quarterbacks, now two of them are injured, but when you have three quarterbacks on your roster that can go into a game and win, that says a lot. But I think San Francisco, when I thought with Garoppolo being in there, they were a Super Bowl contender, and him getting hurt, and he still may find his way back into the lineup with his foot injury. We'll see what happens there. But I thought with Brock Purdy, seventh round pick, rookie, you don't know much about him. you were very concerned. If they can ride McCaffrey, because he had 20 plus carries in that win over the Seahawks, he had 30 plus touches when you include receptions, or at least the targets even. If they can keep him healthy for the entire season, he had injury issues with Carolina, but if he can stay on the field, they have a chance to be a major contender, not only for this to represent the NFC, but to win a championship. The defense is good enough. They have enough weapons. If Debo Samuel finds his way back onto the field because he has a high ankle sprain, they're hoping he'll be back for the postseason. That's a team that can definitely be a contender for a championship. So seeing them win now, it's not the old Legion of Boom, Seattle, Russell Wilson Super Bowl contenders that we saw from 5, 6 years ago, but still a win in Seattle on the road on a short week. Very impressive with that. The Minnesota Vikings, largest comeback in NFL history, overcoming a 33-0 deficit to defeat Indianapolis 39-36 in overtime. First of all, first NFC North Division title for the Vikings since 2017. Obviously, we've seen the Packers have a big run with Aaron Rodgers winning that division for multiple years. But Minnesota getting that division title is big. And secondly, for all the people that are saying Jeff Saturday, after that first win over, he defeated Las Vegas, excuse me, in that first week of him being put as the interim coach, and all the people saying, "Oh, well, Jeff Saturday, he's competent. He could be a big time head coach just stepping onto the team in the middle of the season with no NFL coaching experience outside, really no coaching experience. He had a stint at Hebron Christian here in Georgia, but in high school. But outside of that, nothing. And all people say, oh, well, he's a viable guy. Now, I don't want to say fire. Well, you can't go to the extreme other ends, but man, you blow a 33-point lead. That's a fireable offense. I don't care what level you're at, and especially if you have the lack of a resume as Jeff Saturday does. He's got. We'll see what happens in 3 weeks when the regular season is over, because I don't think he's going to be the head coach anyway. I think they're going to open it up and probably bring someone else in. You would hope, or you would think. But just very interesting seeing what's going on with them. Buffalo defeated Miami 32-29 to clinch the playoff berth for the fourth consecutive season. They technically have not won the division yet because Miami is still lurking, but Buffalo took a big step in earning a division title, and they're right in line to be be the top overall seed in the AFC as well. So it'll be very interesting to see what happens there as well. Yes, a lot of comebacks though, a lot of close games this past weekend. Jacksonville overcame a 17-point deficit in the second half, in fact, to defeat Dallas 40-34. Rashawn Jenkins got the game-winning 52-yard interception return for a touchdown. Dak Prescott's pass was no, it wasn't deflected. He was throwing it to a receiver, but it popped up in the air. Jenkins was able to get the ball, get it back in for the score. So just a very big play there. And that's a lot of comebacks. That's a Minnesota 33-point deficit coming back to win Cincinnati and Jacksonville, each overcoming 17-point deficits. Now it's all in week 15 this past week. That's marks first time in NFL history that 3 teams came back to win after trailing by 17 plus points in a single week. So it's just a wild week of football. Speaking of the Raiders, I mentioned that they gave Jeff Saturday his first NFL win. Really bizarre ending to that contest against New England. I said the Raiders defeated New England 30-24. Chandler Jones registered. Technically, they call it a game-winning 48-yard fumble recovery for a touchdown on the final play of the fourth quarter. But if you saw the score was tied, and all the Patriots had one final play. I guess maybe try to get in field goal range or something. I don't know what was going on, but you saw them do the laterals and everything like that. For some reason, the Patriots player threw the ball backwards towards Mac Jones, the quarterback, who had no business being in that play, had no idea what was going on, but he threw it right in that vicinity. And Chandler Jones, the defensive lineman for the Raiders, picked the ball off, gave Mac Jones the Heisman, threw him down on the ground, and ran in for the score. Final play of the game. So that was a pretty wild scene there. And I think that eliminates New England. I know technically they're in playoff contention, but after that, that's going to be very tough for the Patriots to be in the playoffs. Just a few final round notes before we conclude our show. 6 teams, Buffalo, Minnesota, along with Detroit, Jacksonville, Kansas City, and Las Vegas, came back to win their game after trailing in the fourth quarter. That's happened 71 times this year. That's the most through the first 15 weeks of any NFL season in history. So once again, just a lot of comebacks, a lot of teams that are, as I said, this time of year. I always say the beginning of the year and the end of the year are the times of the year where you start seeing a lot of comebacks and teams not able to hold on to leads. I think in the first part of the year, it's because of stamina. Players don't play as much in the preseason. You look at the numbers. So you have some athletes or some NFL players don't even play in postseason in the preseason, excuse me, at all. So you have the first 2, 3, 4 weeks, they're really getting in shape, getting in game shape to play a full NFL game. So that's where you have a lot of teams that may jump out to big leads, but they're physically not where they need to be. So that's how come I think they fatigue, and that's where you have teams being able to make the comebacks. Opposite end is at the end of the season, now that they played 14, 15 weeks, the body's worn down. And there's nobody's healthy at this time of year in the NFL. So that's where you have teams that are maybe once again jump out to big leads and big starts, but then the physical fatigue gets to them, and that allows more teams to be competitive towards the end of games and make comebacks. So that's where you're seeing a lot of that going on. So yeah, so just a lot going on in the NFL. I think it's kind of getting to the point where you'll be surprised. I think Philadelphia has put itself in a position, talking about the NFC, where they are the team to beat. Now, there's still some teams out there that can make it interesting. San Francisco intrigues me, especially if they get Debo Samuel back. And we'll see what happens with Purdy and Garoppolo once he gets healthy, what San Francisco does. But I think you have to look at those two teams as in Minnesota, a solid squad as well. But I think Philadelphia and San Francisco are those two teams that you're looking at in the NFC as the teams of intrigue as far as the postseason. AFC, you can make an I can make a solid argument for Kansas City, for Buffalo. I like Cincinnati at the beginning of the year to make its presence felt, and I like what I saw from them in that they trailed in the first half by double digits against Tampa. They came back and won that game. I think that they are a team, if they are healthy and rolling right, they have a team that can be in contention as well. But I picked Buffalo my Super Bowl before the season. I think was actually Buffalo and I know I picked Buffalo. That was definitely my squad there. And I think I ended up picking San Francisco. I have to look back at the archives, but I think I had Buffalo and San Francisco in old Chris Berman Super Bowl, and I think I'm more confident in Buffalo than San Francisco in that regard. But I think both those teams are putting themselves right in position to be major contenders. But yeah, but we'll break down more specifics within the past week when we do our Gridiron Blitz episode later on in the week. But thanks for listening to or watching our latest edition of the Sports Inquirer Show. I know it's been almost a year since we technically did a Sports Inquirer show. I was baffled by that. But we do individual type of shows. Like we do a lot of technical state of Georgia athletics. We'll do some at my verbal submission, mixed martial arts, and wrestling show. So I didn't do haven't done a specific Sports Inquirer show in a very long time. But we're going to start getting back to that though. Just a maybe just a 10, 15 minute. I know I'm going a little bit longer than that this week, or this time. But yeah, just a little 10, 15 minutes, just how things are going in the world of sports. And we'll still do our individual shows and everything like that. But as I mentioned, to follow everything that we're doing, always go to the mothership, to sportsinquirer.net. You can also go to our social media platforms on, make sure I get it right, on Twitter and Instagram, Sports Inquirer, on one word. Facebook, The Sports Inquirer. Just go to the site and see what's going on with those. And then once again, subscribe to us on YouTube, SoundCloud, Spotify, Google Podcast, Anchor, and iTunes. So go to any one of those, check us out, and see everything that we're doing. But once again, man, thanks for following us and listening to everything that we do. And until next time, good fight, good night, and be safe.